okay? So the volume of fill in the cavern is about 400,000 cubic yards. What's here is about 1.5, so it's about 40%. But that's an ongoing activity. The sinkhole is changing all the time, and there may be a time delay from when the cavern fills up. I mean, we've got 6,000 feet of rock to get through. There may be a time delay, but we've looked at that.
It seems to me that the volume of that cavern was a whole lot less than what we see has done sunk.
It's actually much bigger. That's how big it was.
It looks like that 1,000-foot mark is right straight down that pipeline right away that ran through there. That's where the pipeline runs, right straight through that side of it, the west side of the sinkhole.
Yep.
Next off, are you still holding pretty well true to that maximum you originally came out with,
Yep.
of 1,400 feet max?
Yep. We're, I don't know where
Max
Will
possibility,
ran
let's
off
put that
to,
way.
but he's hiding over here. We've actually revisited that in the last 2 days. Because that estimate was based on filling the whole cavern with sinkhole material, when we did that calculation, we assumed all the material to fill the cavern had to come from up here. The 1,500-foot radius or diameter is still a good number. There's no reason to back off that.
The gas found below the two homes in the community, what's being done to vent that gas at those locations?
Right now, I don't believe there is any venting. The methane concentrations are declining. Right now, Nick, the best I can tell you about that, that's an active investigation. We're in discussions with Texas Brine. I wish I had better answers for you right now. We don't, but we are working the problem quite rigorously.
Yeah, well, I hope you understand, you know, it's like, well, you know, it's important that you get gas monitors in your home so that we can know, but as soon as you find gas under the slab, you know, well, okay, you know, that's the community. Let's go back over to the sinkhole and do some work.
No.
Well, that's the impression we're getting.
Okay, I can tell you, and the gas group is here, we spent a fair amount of time discussing homes in the community that may have methane below the floor slab and what's the path forward on those homes. I don't have answers for you right now, but I can assure you in the last 3 days, we spent a lot of time discussing that very thing. Okay?
I thank y'all for being on the committee and stuff, but I have a question. If the cavern is filling up and you got a 500-pound pressure on it, how does it get in there?
We don't know.
You're honest.
I wish I could answer that. The Stability Commission group came up with 3 or 4 possible alternatives. Right now, we don't know.
You're talking about this swamp gas, always this swamp gas. We have a piece of property up there that was built by the canal. They used the canal dirt to put in there. Is our property more to get this swamp gas, or?
Well, they're all over that part of Assumption Parish, we have swamp gas, okay? It's everywhere. The question is, do you have a driving force to where it can go into your house? And that is what's being worked on with the sub-slab sampling and everything else.
We do have slab pretty much in our house and in our shop.
Right. There is, whether the methane below your given slab is high enough to warrant a risk right now, the only way to answer that would be to sample it.
I understood right. The hole is 1.5 million cubic feet
Yeah.
of water. That means that
Cubic yards.
Cubic yards, I mean, yeah. That much material went down in the hole.
Yeah.
Okay, and how much was the cavern?
The cavern was about,
Cavern.
the whole cavern was about 4 million
Oh,
cubic
4
yards.
million, okay, yeah.
So we still at the number of about 2.7 million cubic
Yep.
yards of void, which Mr. Bruce Martin thinks dropped out of the sky.
No, he doesn't. We're working on that. That's part of what the stability part of the Blue Ribbon Commission has got to look at that material balance.
Yeah, I like the commission. I mean, it's about time. You know, it's not their fault. It only took 9 months to get this going.
Thank you, Doctor.
From what I read, there were no significant voids found around the area of the cavern, in the surface soil. Okay? I can understand that, you know, that if there were some voids there, that material from that void could be getting in the cavern itself, okay? But without that, I don't see how, you know, a pound out is getting to be a pound in. I don't quite understand that. And then the other thing is, if that thing is filling up, is it vented on top? If it's not, you've got build pressure that goes through there, and it compresses that
Yeah,
gas. Now, if it's liquid, it's not going to compress.
we're monitoring the pressure increase. I get pressure data out of the cavern every 5 minutes. In terms of the pound in, pound out question, I'm going to let Dr. Pettit answer that because he's much more qualified than I am.
Could you just repeat the question, please?
Well, there's no significant void according to the 3D data around the area. Which, if those were there, I could say, well, that material right there did get into the cavern, okay? There's no voids. So there's still no logical explanation as to where the material is coming from that's getting into the cavern. If it is way bigger volume of material than what's actually coming out of the sink.
Okay. So the way it works is the sinkhole volume is about, right now, it's about 40% of the volume of the cavern. But what you have is you have a direct connection between the sinkhole, a column of rock, if you like, between the sinkhole down to the cavern. And there's a factor in rock mechanics called the bulking factor. What that is as rock gets damaged, it bulks up, it expands in volume. So that volume is, if you like, the additional volume that's gone into the cavern is taken up by that bulking of the rock as it's been damaged between the sinkhole and the cavern.
It's kind of getting depressurized.
And that material will slowly settle. So,
for lack of a better term, in time, that bulking will unbulk, and you'll have compaction.
you will have compaction,
So you're going to have,
exactly.
further,
Now-
it's going to have to be filled in from somewhere.
Yeah, and so that will continue in time. Now, what we think is that it's not going to compact all the way to 100%. Okay, so because you've increased that volume and the rocks move and kind of jostled around and that kind of stuff, you can imagine like blocks. If you get a box,
You have a void there.
and you kind of jumble it up, then you have like little voids, little kind of fractures and kind of openings, but small.
That would make you believe that this would be a longer process than just filling in the cavern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other thing as well, I wanted to just mention. My turn to talk.
Might go with a mic.
As Gary mentioned, we've had some really interesting discussions over the last few days about this problem. It's a very complicated problem and unique. We've said this many times before. It's a unique problem. And somebody raised about the issue in the pressurization in the cavern. We believe that that the cavern is obviously the top part, which I think is about 150 foot left in the top. 100 foot left in the top of brine. What's happening is the cavern's behaving like a piston. It's pushing up into that brine and pressurizing it up. But at the same time, that brine is finding a path out. It's either going down or out through the side or something like that. So it's maintaining pressure in that top part of the cavern. We have some theories about that. Pierre Berest is one of the leading international experts on caverns in the world, and he's provided some good input and advice on that. And so we have some theories, and over time we'll work those theories through and try to understand
So
it.
that pressure is just liquid. There's no gas in top of the cavern?
No, there's not a lot of gas. Initially, yeah. Initially, there was quite a bit of gas, and Texas brine took that out, but now there's hardly any gas. We think that's actually coming from the material that's now in the cavern. All of that material, as I say, has come in from the outside. It's been pushed in, if you like, as the kind of connection from the sinkhole down into the cavern.
Shouldn't there reach an equilibrium in the liquid there between pressure on the outside and pressure on the inside? The liquid won't compact, it's gonna sit there.
Yeah.
Unless it's got a fissure or something it's going through, it's just gonna sit there, and at some point, you should stop letting the go in the cavern, right?
Right, but one thing you heard on the Blue Ribbon Commission report that Will did, we realized even when the cavern's full, that is not a stable situation. One of the reasons the Blue Ribbon Commission, they spent a lot of time talking about long-term monitoring, is because this compaction, settlement, expansion of the sinkhole is going to be going on for a while longer. We don't know how much longer. What we can do, though, is monitor to protect the people. Because we know, for the most part, with the monitors we've got now, we are going to get some warning if something bad starts to happen. So the stability group is focused on the problem you mentioned, as well as several others, but also getting monitoring in for long-term stability monitoring, because it's got to be done.
I understand that you guys for a while opened up the well to that cavern, that's pressuring up, but that the pressure wouldn't go down.
We're gonna need probably
Yeah.
Can you get into, that doesn't seem like that would make any sense.
Well, that's what Will was talking about. That's one of the things the stability group spent a fair amount of time talking about, is why is that happening right now? Don't have a good answer for you.
Dr. Hickox, we're venting the gas on the aquifer, and we have cooling zones around each vent. So that explains why we still have 55 psi in our observation well inside on Salisbury Cone. Yet there's a well about 500 feet away. But does that gas stay right there, or does it eventually flow out? And what I'm getting at is we have gases a lot more than what they're venting. The area that you've shown where the gas is at, that's what we know from the bubble sites. This gas eventually should, in my analytical mind, move over to back on our communities if it's not venting. Is that true, or is this gas there and it won't move at all? I mean, I don't understand that.
No, that's an excellent question. At this point in time, part of the gas part of the Blue Ribbon Commission, we're going to be doing some modeling to be able to answer that type of question. If I vent off over here, what does that do to the gas under the community? And the way we do that is with calculations. Right now, the indication is that the radius of influence of the vent well is probably no more than about 250 feet, which means even if I vent these down to 0 over here, it's probably not going to affect the gas 300 feet away. Okay?
I hear that, but I don't understand that. What's to prevent the gas, let's say in the Trish Canal, where it's bubbling up like somebody's boiling crawfish right now, from eventually making its way back 5 years from now into our community?
You mean if we vented off the community, would the gas over here migrate back? That is one of the questions the Blue Ribbon Commission is going to answer, is just because if I went in your yard today and vented off the gas below your house, we have to look at long term too. I'd get it down below your house now, but if I shut the vent well off, what's going to happen a year from now? We're working on that very question. That is one of the key questions we have to answer, is the one you just posed, because it's an excellent question.
So what Mike said, that's the case, why aren't vent wells being put in the Trish Canal and in Bayou Pond where it is bubbling to stop it from traveling back?